and welcome back to Fool Me Once, the show where I tell you how the phone in your pocket actually controls more of your behavior than you do. So far, we've spoken about how digital imperialism works and how it works to get our attention. But today, we'll be talking about how it controls our behavior, colonizing our bodies without our knowledge. Right now, 4 billion mobile phones are vibrating in pockets and handbags around the world. Right now, each of us, on average, spend close to 45 days a year on our phones. And every day, we check our phones 160 times, from the moment we wake up to snooze that alarm button to the moment we set our alarm for tomorrow and fall asleep. And each time we check our phone, something is asked of us. Buy this product, visit this place, like this tweet. As we learned last time, we know that this is part of a critical architecture of the internet and of our phones. The digital world was designed to be as addictive as sugar, all in an effort to keep our eyes on the screens. This behavior, the way we use our digital devices today, was learned. We were being conditioned to become addicted to our phones. What this means is that our behaviors were modified and are being modified to benefit the digital imperialists. Companies like Meta or Facebook, Amazon, Huawei, Uber are not just social media networks and internet companies. In the words of virtual reality pioneer Jaron Lanier,
I can't call these things social networks anymore. I call them behavior modification empires.
It's incredibly telling that Lanier calls these companies empires. The word connotes vast territorial expansion, unquestioned authority, and a disregard for the trivial majority, all of which describes the current state of Google, Huawei, Microsoft, Amazon, Samsung, and on and on and on. Meta's Facebook, for example, has an empire of 2 billion active users. For context, Meta's platform has as many people as there are Christians in the world, and Meta was able to do this in 17 years. 100 times faster than Christianity. In the meantime, YouTube has 2 billion active users. This is more than the number of people who believe in Islam. And Google, YouTube's parent company, was able to build this base in just 16 years. 88 times faster than Islam. This kind of rapid expansion doesn't just happen. It is a byproduct of behavior modification. In a nutshell, behavior modification means inducing a positive change in an individual's behavior through such techniques as positive and negative reinforcement or punishment for poor behavior. This therapy method is based off the experiments of B.F. Skinner. The behavior modifying potential of the internet was recognized before we even had the internet. An early computer scientist by the name of Norbert Wiener wrote a book back in the 50s called The Human Use of Human Beings. And in the book, he described the potential to create a computer system that would be gathering data from people and providing feedback to those people in real time. This is done to put people in kind of a Skinner box behaviorist system. In case you didn't know, the Skinner box was developed by psychologist B.F. Skinner in the 1930s. Inside the box is a lever for the animals to operate to get food. So scientists would use the box to gauge how well an animal could be conditioned or trained to act a certain way. Now, in his book, Wiener proposes a thought experiment based on the Skinner box, but he upgrades it to the 21st century. He asks us to imagine a global computer system where everybody has devices on them all the time, and the devices are giving them feedback based on what they've done. Wiener opined that the whole population would be subject to a degree of behavior modification because of the sequence of feedback and response. Now, for Wiener, this was just a thought experiment. He never imagined such a situation possible. If only he could see the present. Every single one of us has been conditioned to respond to a ping or a vibration like a mother responding to her crying child. We have been conditioned by the plays our digital imperialists have made for our attention, and we have come to expect personalized content only if we engage more with the service. And we have come to expect that our data will be extracted. These elements work together and are connected to create a measurement and feedback machine that deliberately modifies behavior. The process runs by customizing often emotional cues that engage each user. The emotional cues to which I refer are very simple. cycle: reward and punishment, both preying upon our innate need to be liked. We get a thrill when people like what we share, and that thrill keeps us on the platform. We get a thrill when people dislike what we share, and as we figure out how to get people to like us or hate us even more, we continue to use the platform. The default purpose of this process is to get more and more people stuck in and spend more and more time on the platform. And remember, last time we learned that the more time we spend on a platform, the more attention we give it, the more money they make. Once internet companies realized what they had been able to do, they began asking themselves, how far can we take this? Would we be able to influence behavior in other ways? The answer is, unfortunately, yeah, they can. In 2010, Facebook attempted to influence the behavior of 61 million users. On the day of the US congressional election, users were greeted with one of three messages. The first message was social and encouraged users to vote. It gave them a link to the polling places, a clickable button that said, "I voted." And users could see how many of their friends also clicked the button. The second message was just informational and excluded who amongst their friends had voted. And the third message had nothing, so there was no message. The impact of these little variations was incredible. An additional 340,000 people went to vote who wouldn't have otherwise voted. To understand this significance, remember that the 2000 US election between George Bush and Al Gore came down to just 537 votes in Bush's favor in the state of Florida. If 537 votes can shift the fate of a nation, what could 340,000 do? Facebook can also influence your emotions, as per a 2012 study. The study examined the shift in a user's emotion depending on the kind of content they saw, either positive or negative. According to Shoshana Zuboff, and I quote, "The idea was to test whether even subliminal exposure to specific emotional content would cause people to change their own posted behavior to reflect that content." It did. Whether or not users felt happier or sadder, the tone of their expression changed to reflect their newsfeed. So what does all this mean? That if one company has the ability to modify the behavior of 2 billion people around the world, it stands to reason that other companies with similar capacities and abilities are capable of the same. If the digital imperialists can tweak emotions and make us vote, what else can they do? Exploring the boundaries of this modification ability is the imperialists' ultimate goal. If the business model is predicated upon making predictions, and you only get paid if your predictions are accurate, what does it mean when you no longer have to guess what people will do? Why guess what somebody will do when you can condition them to do it? As one Silicon Valley executive noted,
"The goal of everything we do is to change people's actual behavior at scale. We want to figure out the construction of changing a person's behavior, and then we want to change how lots of people are making their day-to-day decisions. When people use our app, we can capture their behaviors and identify good and bad ones. Then we develop treatments or data pellets that select good behaviors as well. We can test how actionable our cues are for them and how profitable certain behaviors are for us."
And profitable it certainly was. A perfect example of this was the hit 2016 game Pokemon Go. The game's developers, Niantic, used behavior modification to increase the value of their company by $10.2 billion, more than quadrupling its value. And here's the crazy thing, they did this in 6 days. Pokemon Go is a game where you have to catch all these creatures called Pokemon, but these Pokemon were hiding out in the real world. When you opened the app on your phone and held it out searching for Pokemon, the game augmented what you saw on your screen, such that when you directed your phone's camera at a tree, you might find a Pokemon hiding behind its trunk. To find all the Pokemon, you had to literally walk for miles, and people walked for miles. In 2016, before the game reached its peak, the average person completed around 5,000 steps a day. After the game gained popularity, the average person began walking 7,000 steps a day, an increase of close to 2,000 steps per person. Players knocked on people's doors because they found a Pokemon in their backyard, they flooded shops because a rare Pokemon was sighted, or got so engrossed that one player got hit by a car. The game modified people's behaviors, getting them to be more active. More than that, the game's developers, a company called Niantic, started channeling this foot traffic towards specific businesses. At a fee, of course.
And we were taking the train here to go to the city, but then we saw all the Pokestops and we just got off the train. Like, some places have signs Pokemon related and it kind of makes you want to go in there.
Owner Mark Israel created a whole new product. After discovering that all 4 of his stores were gyms or Pokespots, he designed what he calls a Pokeseed to capture the imagination of new customers.
We found out about it Friday, when the game came out, and then by Saturday morning we had the Pokeseed out. As soon as we finished it, we took a picture of it and we put it on the social media, and people started coming down to the shop before we even brought it out.
He's charging a 20-cent premium on Pokeseeds and says overall business is up by an estimated 15%. Marketing experts say businesses could further profit from Pokemon if Nintendo opens up its platform and allows stores to become partners.
They can see their customers walking through and taking advantage of these different Pokemon stops if they were able to rent out or buy Pokemon locations.
And this shop wasn't the only one to benefit from the craze. Like I said, Niantic made billions of dollars by incorporating sponsored locations in their business model. And I'm sure you're asking yourself, well, that's not so bad. But what if the game had encouraged players to do something more violent? Already, players were behaving recklessly, conditioned by the game to do so because that's the only way they could win. Players' bodies are being directed to behave in a way which benefits the imperialists, resulting in colonialism of the body. Colonization of the body is a term coined by historian David Arnold to denote a political process. In essence, when the imperialists, believing they know what's best, use their power to reshape the behavior of their subjects to their liking. From instituting a hut tax to force black bodies to work for meager wages, to banning certain foods, drinks, and cultural practices because they failed to align with European social mores. And now it seems that our digital imperialists have taken a page from their book. They are now reshaping our behavior to benefit them. In fact, our bodies may not even be our own. Instead, they have become another way for the digital imperialists to extract wealth. And so now we must ask ourselves a simple question. Are we free? Or did we relinquish some control over our lives that we just can't get back? What is clear is that we no longer exercise sole control over our bodies. Digital imperialists of the 21st century tell us what to do, when to do it, and how long to do it for, just as the traditional imperialists of the 19th century did. We are dancing to the music they play, to the steps they have choreographed with partners they have selected, and right now we have a choice to make. Hope the music that they've chosen is good and keep dancing, or get up and turn off the radio. It's up to you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.